Hello, so this is VCP 218 or VMG 321, depending on what school you are from. But basically, this is an intro to 3D animation course. It's going to cover the overall production of creating a 3D animation film in the most basic sense. It's kind of the stepstone to which you will develop other things. Okay, so it's the real base course. If you haven't touched 3D before, this is where you would be taking. All right, so going basically what you want to do is that you can go to my site, which is just teachmecone.com, which obviously you've already gotten there because you're watching this video. But just remember Teach Me Cone, because I'm Cone. And these are all the different courses. So you would just do this one. You can see there's one page for each class. Okay, so each week all the notes are on here, as well as the classes and the assignments and all that business. Okay, so this is meant more as a supplemental material, but I'm making this video so that if for some reason I'm not there or you're not there or whatever, this is sort of a brief overview of what would happen during the class. So sort of a lecture, like a quick one. Okay, so right off the bat, I am Jonathan Cone, Jonathan Robert Cone to be exact. Don't call me that. I'm not one of those guys. I usually just go by John, or most often people just call me Cone, I think, because it's just simple. But it's very apt for what I do, because Cone is a primitive, and it's a very useless one in 3D. We never use that. Basically, I'm a full-time professor at Cecil College in Maryland. In the visual communications program there, I'm basically responsible for the game design and web design programs, but I teach digital imaging, 3D animation, game design, a whole slew of things. I also have taught before at other colleges, stop motion, 2D animation, really a lot of different graphics based things. I'm more on the art side of things, but I can do some coding as well. I'm also currently teaching at Wilmington, so if you're taking this, you're probably doing that. But I've also taught at Villa Maria College, Prince George's Community College, New York Film Academy, at Harvard, RIT, and MCC, and probably some other places I didn't mention. But I also do a lot of freelance just kind of on the side. So right here, if you want, you can watch this. It's just some freelance stuff that I've done before. It's mostly visualizations. It's not sexy, but it's money. So that's one of those things. What I would ask is, what is your name? One thing I do want to point out, though, because I will be asking this, I am not going to remember that. I'm really terrible at names. I'm just letting you know up front. I will probably know your name by the last class. So I don't know why. I just don't have a memory for it. I'm not going to bother going through this. Now, I do have a syllabus. So if you're at Cecil, you just click on this, and it will ask you to download. You can say yes or nay, or just open it. Or if you're at Wilmington, click on this one. You can download the syllabus. It's right there. Okay. So, like I said before, this is basically just going to introduce you to an overall view of just creating and producing 3D content. Okay, so it's a real good base class to which you can build upon any of the other specific skills that you might like. Like you might like just modeling, or you might like animation, you might like lighting, even game design. It's good to know this stuff so that when people give you assets, you know how to interact with them. One thing I do want to make a point about is this course will be using Blackboard. That's pretty much a requirement for both colleges. The thing is, I honestly don't use Blackboard that much. But I do use it for a couple of things that are specific. So one is, I'm going to use Blackboard to email you. So if I'm not going to be there for some reason, such as I've already emailed you through this for some people, this you will use. I'm going to use this, and it's going to go to your school issued email. So just be aware that if you aren't checking your school email and I'm not going to be there, you might show up and you didn't get to know. So that's on you. Sorry. Also, if I have any issues, or you're missing an assignment or something or whatever, that's how I'm going to use. I'm going to use Blackboard. The other, probably to me, more specific or more important thing is all of your assignments will be graded there. So every assignment will be in Blackboard. I don't want you to show up at week 13 and be like, oh my god, I'm doing terrible. You should be checking this as you go along. Okay, I made a couple shortcuts here. This one's for Cecil, this one's for Wilmington. Click on either one of those. Excuse me, I'm a little bit sick. and those will they'll bring right up to the Blackboard website. So you can just click on one of those. Okay, so the assignments, all right, to the nitty gritty here. For this course, there's going to just be really one major project, and almost all of the assignments are just steps in that completion, right? So first you need to make a story, then you need to make a model, then you need to color the model, then you need to rig the model, then you need to animate it, and then you need to render it and whatever. But basically, you might have a film in the end, but there's a bunch of different steps that are going to lead to that. And basically what I do is every week is like one step, okay? Now total, it's going to be 250 points, okay? That's the total of the course. The weekly assignments, they're right here. So this is basically, you'll see there's 14 of them, 14 weeks, 14 assignments. Real straightforward. Each one's worth 10. The first two here aren't really related to the final project, but they get the same value as the rest because they're all just 10, all right? The rest of these are all in regards to your final assignment, okay? Then the final assignment, which I will grade at the end, it'll be more particular. I mostly grade these based on completion. You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to block the model. Like, is it 100% blocked, or is it, 50% blocked? Well, then you're gonna get a 50. It's almost, it's almost like a checkbox kind of thing. Your final assignment, I'll be a little bit more critical about, and I will look at it and think about aesthetics and quality and animation and all that other thing. So that'll be worth 100 points, and then you'll get 10 points for participation, which rounds it out to 250, which makes it a little bit easier of a round number. Just so you are aware, what you are going to be doing, and you should start thinking about this, is I'm going to have you guys create for your completed thing here. Is I want you to develop a robot that a robot advertisement. So it's a quick little 10-second what they call a sizzler. Doesn't have to be exactly 10 seconds, but somewhere in that realm. A sizzler is what they call it, at least at Fisher Price. And basically the idea is that you're supposed to like wow people with a quick little like, hey, this is what it does. And I want you to create a robot advertisement, an advertisement for your robot. So you're going to model a robot and then make a short film about it, basically showing what it can do. And what I would suggest is creating a robot that fulfills some sort of need, okay? And what I would do, and this goes with anything that's art, is do what you know, okay? So if you're horribly depressed, make a therapy robot, okay? If you hate doing the dishes, make a robot that does the dishes. If you have a little cousin that's always stinky because he just craps his pants all the time, make a diaper changing robot. Do something that you're familiar with, because it'll be much more believable. You'll put more into it. It's better. We'll get more into that, in class and stuff. But anything with art, you do what you know, okay? But that's what basically the culmination of everything is going to be for that. Okay. Now, going through 3D animation. One of the things I really want to drive at you, regardless of what your major is, because I know there's a bunch of different people that would maybe take this course, and a lot of times, you might be a gaming person, you might be animation production, you might be special effects, you might be motion graphics. There's any numerous of things that you could be. What I would tell you is this: don't get pigeonholed into that one specific thing. Animation and 3D animation can be, and multimedia or interactive media can be, it can be applied to any number of industries. So what I think is that, like, if you're making a game or you're making 3D, like a little 3D film such as we are, yeah, that might be cool and it might work for what it is, but that same skill set can be applied any number of ways. I look at this more as a vehicle to teach you the skills, okay? The one thing that people always think about is this entertainment film, right? So someone's like, oh, I want to work at Pixar, or oh, I want to work for Bethesda, or wherever, right? Or ILM. Okay, I'm just going right down the line here. And that's great. Don't get me wrong. That's the big leagues. But in all honesty, that is the small sliver of where you will see animation. It is applied to so many other different fields that you don't even think about. So one, and honestly, this has been a big bread and butter for me, is visualizations. So anytime that there's a big deal that they're going to make like a building somewhere, they almost always, if they want to get the contract, they will hire people to, visualize, like, what would the building look like in this area? How will traffic flow? They'll hire architectural visualizers. I have a friend that works, he's a medical visualizer. That's a huge thing. That's a really big industry. one of the things, 3D printing is really a big deal right now. One of the things they do is they'll actually take someone and they're going to perform a surgery. Let's say on someone that has a brain tumor. They'll actually, you know, do a scan of their head. They'll take that 3D data. They'll adjust it using 3D technology. They'll print it out in 3D, and they'll let the doctor actually look at the model in 3D space, and they can see what it's going to be before they actually perform the surgery. Prosthetics is huge. They'll take a scan of a face. If someone's missing an eyeball, they'll scan the good eyeball. They'll take it in 3D. I've seen this. They used to do it at Johns Hopkins. They'll take it, they flip it reverse. They'll sculpt it in ZBrush, same program we use, and then they'll 3D print it. And then they'll put it, you know, the prosthetic on the head, and it looks amazing. I mean, it changes people's lives. Legal, if there's a large legal, like some sort of lawsuit, they will hire somebody. Be like, oh, this you know, truck landed on my dog, you know, from the roof. They'll hire somebody to show how the truck fell off the roof and onto their puppy, and they're gonna sue them lots of money. It sells, you know what I mean? And for them, if it's a large lawsuit, it's worth the money to pay you a couple thousand in order to create the visualization. Scientific, that was a huge thing in the beginning. A lot of people did. NASA hires, they have a whole slew of people. Military is a huge thing that they do now. Product visualizations, gigantic, you know, and that's the thing too. Like, you know, everyone looks at like Pixar and all those other ones, but Procter and Gamble. I worked for Fisher Price, Mattel. There are so many different industries that need that. I mean, anytime you look at any infomercial, right, there's a ton of product visualizations. Every product gets visualized. So what I would say is, you know, learn these skills and aim for these. These are fine. These are good things to go for, but realize that that can be applied to any number of other aspects. And the thing is too, there's all these new things that are being made that are so cool, like virtual reality now. You can take your phone and you put it in Google Cardboard and HoloLens and all this other coolness. 3D printing is awesome. Holograms. I mean, it's the applications of it is becoming immense, and it's awesome. So just realize that even though you might want to do those things, and that's great, go for it. Just realize that you can apply this in any number of maybe even more practical ways, and they're just as important. All right, so I'm actually going to pause, do another video, and then we'll talk about the animation production pipeline.